I want to talk about a pea. In October, the Baker Creek Heirloom Seeds Company in Mansfield, Missouri, invited me to come, and if y'all gonna talk, I'll be quiet.
Yes, sir.
You're right. You're right. In October, the Baker Creek whole seed, heirloom seed company in Mansfield, Missouri, they have about a 300-acre farm there where they raise nothing but heirloom seeds. This is their catalog. They have them at Tractor Supply and at Walmart. But the most probably shocking thing is that on page 150, they have a full write-up on the seed that has been stewarded by my family since 1867. So if you go out there, you can buy this book. This book goes all over the world. And it is the story of those seeds there in my hand and these seeds. This is called a clay pea, like black-eyed pea, purple hull pea, cream pea, whippoorwill pea, clay pea. My family has stewarded this pea. And I use that word stewarded because we did not create the pea. We have just kept it and kept it alive. This is a living legacy. My grandmother's grandfather was named Lewis Ross. He was freed from slavery in 1865. In 1867, he purchased 110 acres of land and started planting this pea. The people in Missouri were surprised that black folk would hold on to a pea that long. And they said, well, how did you all happen to do that? And I said, because we were tied to the land. We didn't buy anything that we didn't have to buy. We had a philosophy on that land. You never buy anything that you can produce or make or save. We had a saying, use it up, wear it out, make it do, or do without. So we didn't throw anything away. We recycled it into something else that could be used in another way. And so it is that we kept our seeds from year to year. And I just want to share with you how our family has held on to this pea through Lewis Ross, his daughter Clement, who died in 1937, her daughter Daisy, born in 1887, died in 1980. Her son JT, born in 1910, died in 1965. His son JT, born in 1950, still here. But not only that, my son, my children, Abhishek, Keturah, have eaten this pea. Keturah's son, Agilon, has planted and raised this pea so for 7 generations. This pea has been in our family. Made a few notes. No doubt you have heard the old nursery rhyme, peas porridge hot, peas porridge cold, peas porridge in a pot, 9 days old. Some like it hot, some like it cold, some like it in a pot, 9 days old. Peas porridge, P-E-A-S. A porridge is a vegetable that's cooked into a soup almost. And if you're black, you know we don't like no runny pinto beans. We like them cooked down, what we say, low, with a gravy. Amen. I stopped at a place to eat some time ago and I saw some pinto beans and I said, oh, these kind of runny here. Because the water was a little clear, the juice was a little clear. But any time, and this is kind of archaic or antiquated, but any time a vegetable is cooked down to almost a soup or stew is called a porridge. Peas porridge hot. Peas porridge cold. Peas porridge in a pot, 9 days old. I remember very vividly before the days of refrigeration at our house, and there was refrigeration existing, but we didn't have electricity then, so we had to resort to the old ways of keeping stuff. So if there were peas left over, my mom would get a charcoal from the chimney, piece of charcoal, wash it, clean, drop that charcoal in those peas for overnight, and they did not spoil, y'all. Peas porridge in a pot. We didn't go for 9 days, but they did last overnight. But if there were enough of them, Mama took those peas, and mashed them, cut up some onion in them, put a little flour in that, maybe an egg in that, some black pepper and salt, and she fried those peas for our breakfast. Again, we didn't throw anything away. We learned how to survive. It was survival. It was survival. You existed off of what you had, what the Lord had blessed you with. And I talked about our farm, our faith. But every time we ate our food, we expressed our faith. Because nobody at our house ate until Daddy said, "Gracious Master, we thank you for the food that we are about to receive for the nourishment of our bodies for Christ's sake." Amen. And every child at the table had to quote a Bible verse. Amen. No matter, you couldn't say anything but Jesus wept, you had to say something. But my point is, on that farm, where I grew up, in my family, we express our faith with the taking of our food. And so I'm grateful to have had that experience. Again, porridge is also a pottage, can be called pottage, a thick soup of vegetables and sometimes meat, most times meat. We black folk, we don't like beans, peas, ain't no meat in them. Preferably some pork meat. That's maybe just a little bit rancid. Gotta look, but smoked at least. Hot bone, something to give a little flavor to it. That's called either porridge or pottage. A thick soup of vegetables and sometimes, and I like, to me, all the terms, meat. Now, when we were kids, most time, Mom and Daddy ate the meat out of the peas, and we ate peas and bread. The kids did. But we were full. And we had a saying on our farm, when you're full, nobody knows what's in your stomach. Sometimes all we had was peas and bread. But we ate what we had, and we were thankful for it. Now we did that during the week, but on Sunday, we went all out on Sundays. But during the week, sometimes with meat and bread, beans and bread, peas and bread. It was just, we had a pot, a big three-legged pot that sat down on the eye of a stove, and we called it the dinner pot. So whatever's in that pot, that's what you ate. Mama didn't cook nothing special for nobody. If you didn't like what was cooked, you had to wait till the next meal. And after a few missed meals, you could be surprised how to adjust what you like to eat. Not all peas are created equal. The various varieties taste differently. A black-eyed pea tastes different from a purple hull pea. Purple hulls taste different from a cream pea. A cream pea tastes different from a whippoorwill pea. Not all peas are created differently. They differ in their growth pattern. Some bunch and some run. And one of the reasons this pea fell into disfavor is that it is very aggressive in its running. It will just, if you've got a 4-foot row, it'll cover the whole thing. They differ in their growth patterns. Some bunch, some run. Then next, they differ in their lifespan. A purple hull pea is going to make and die. It'll produce very prolifically, but it's going to die. Some mature and die, while others will produce continually until the frost comes. That was one of the great things that our family liked about this clay pea. Remember I told you we didn't have electricity? So it was always a good thing to go out anytime between the 1st of July and the 1st of November, when usually the first frost came, and you could pick a mess of green peas. Because this pea will make continually from the time of its first production until the frost comes and kills it. Some varieties are drought resistant, and this one, I planted this pea mostly every year. A fella came by and said, "Are you watering?" I said, "No, this pea is just drought resistant. It will look, its roots grow very deeply to find water. So it's very drought resistant." And that's so important now with all our climate change, y'all. And this pea will also produce with a minimum of cultivation. If you do your last plowing and weeds get into the field, just go out there among the weeds, you'll find some peas. So it's good to have a pea that will produce with a minimum of cultivation. And I'm sure that the last three factors have contributed to my family's long-standing stewardship of the clay pea. I want to share with you some historical facts that I thought were so important. If you want to, this book is entitled Heirloom Vegetable Gardening, Julia Child Award for Food Reference, Jane Rickson Award for Distinguished Scholarship. But it's by William W. Wise Weaver, W-Y-S Weaver, William W. Weaver. But listen to what he says. Botanists have determined that the genetic homeland of the cowpea, what we just call peas, most folk call, especially folk from the East Coast, call cowpeas. Botanists have determined that the genetic homeland of the cowpea is the Niger Basin of West Africa. The Bantu people in particular have developed the cowpea to a high level of cultivation. It is this West African source that also provided the genetic stock for the cowpeas that came to the New World in connection with the slave trade. This connection, this close association with African Americans and the New England perception of the pea as a fodder crop for slaves undoubtedly provided Fearing Burr with grounds of omitting cowpeas entirely from his book on American vegetables. It was not due to a lack of cowpeas or that the historical record was silent on the early cultivation in this country, for references to cowpeas abound. Thomas Jefferson raised a French variety of cowpea referred to in 1774 as black-eyed peas. They were planted beside the corn patches, where many gardeners plant them even today. Other planters throughout the South also raise cowpeas. Most of the varieties appear to have been introduced from the Caribbean or from Brazil rather than directly from Africa. During the 18th century, they were quickly adapted to the diet of poor whites as well, who dubbed them crowder peas, from the Scotch-Irish word crowdy or porridge. Several varieties were documented from the Civil War. Mountain crowder, considered the finest sort, white crowder, a Midland variety, and gray crowder, often referred to as the poor man's pea, Tennessee white crowder, a running conch, C-O-N-C-H, are two white heirloom varieties still available today. Watch this. The gray crowder is also being maintained by heirloom collectors. However, the most famous variety from the early half of the 19th century is the clay pea. The cowpea included in the soldier's mess by the Confederate Army. This variety is still grown in the South, where it is treated with enthusiasm, verging on devotion. And so it was that I ended up, my grandmother passed this pea on to me, and one of her demands was that don't lose the seed. Don't lose the seed. It has sustained us. Don't lose the seed. That's a weighty charge. Because I'm not a full-time farmer. There were other seeds given me. A winter turnip that grew, didn't make a bottom, but it lay close to the ground. And I've seen my grandmother go out on days where there was a snow or ice on the ground and just pick those and knock the ice off because cold weather did not kill it. Now they were a little bit bitter now, Brother Flakes. You had to add a little sugar to them. But even now, I like a little bit of bitterness in my greens. But I lost seed of that turnip. And I said, JT, you're going to fool around, miss a year or two of planting, and you're going to lose this seed. So I shared that seed with these folk so that it could be shared, because I think If you have something like that, it just doesn't belong to you or to me or to my family. To me, it belongs to humanity. To humanity. And so, if you go out and get this book, it's going to cost you pretty good. I think it's about $15. Let me find page 150. But if you go out and get this book, you can now buy, folk from all of America can now buy this book and get this seed and plant this seed. And that was my intention, that it not die or be lost on my watch. But you got a history of my family in this book. My grandmother's in there. Even, that's me there when I was 21 years old, y'all. My wife said to me, "That's the man I want." I said, "That man is gone and he won't be back. No more." Y'all see that fella? That fella got an afro, y'all. But that's how the pea looks when it's fresh. It's green when you shell it. But when you cook it, it turns brown. So, again, it's been passed down for 7 generations in my family. And I want, so you can order this now. It says, clay cowpea, produced 90 days, introducing a true Southern gem, J.T. Harris's heirloom clay peas. This African-American variety was a staple in the kitchens of the South for generations, famed for their flavor and hardiness. Talk about his historical bite. We are thrilled to have unearthed this living treasure from the 1860s, but this really before, because the reference here is that they were being produced in the first part of the 1800s. But they've been in our family since the 1860s. This rare, earthy colored pea was sourced from our friend J.T. Harris in East Texas. Known for their resilience, incredible flavor, they've been passed down since 1867. Thanks to J.T., this legacy is still going strong. Enjoy a taste of tradition with these flavorful, time-tested peas. You can get a packet for 50 seeds for $3. So the weight that the pea might be lost is off my shoulder. Now, there were friends of mine who said, "Man, I wouldn't have given that away." I said, "No." My aunt had a real good recipe, y'all, for ambrosia. And she didn't have children. So I asked her, "Where's that recipe, that ambrosia?" She said, I said, "You gonna share?" She said, "If I tell you, you'll know as much as I know." Y'all know what? When she died, we buried the recipe with her. That's the tragedy. That's a selfish tragedy. And so a friend of mine said, "I would not have given it to him." I said, "No, it was not mine. I was simply a steward of that pea. And I want the whole world to enjoy that pea." I want to share a poem with you, and I'm going to stop. This talks about the Lewis Ross legacy. In 1867, 2 years after they were freed, Lewis and Polly Ross bought a farm and held on to their deed. Eventually, the farm fell to Clemmy Ross and then to her daughter Daisy. From her son J.T., the farm was passed to me. To Lewis Ross, that land meant independence for a man who would be free. For his heirs, it is an anchor, a treasured family legacy. Take care of the land, Granny said, and the land will take care of you. Avoid sorry folk of every race and make your visits few. That farm was a source of pride for Granny in her time. Though born in 1887, she mocked old Jim Crow's kind. She said, I plowed some mules. I've chopped some cotton. I worked hard in my lifetime. I raked some yards and made some beds. But son, they've all been mine. Granny didn't believe in luck. She said, your luck is in your hands. Keep your mouth and keep to yourself and hold on to this land. If you make a dime, save a nickel. Put back for the rainy day. Never, never get broke, my son, no matter what the case. Spend down so far, then go for broke, but never give up this place. Never live beyond your means. That is an awful fault. Then you'll mortgage to the banker man, and your deed's gonna be in his vault. If foreclosure comes, where can you go? Except on some other man. So be frugal in your business and hold on to your land. Granny days, it was hard, so many people thought. Plant your seed on your land, she said, because turnips don't grow on asphalt. We still hear you, Granny. Thank you very kindly.
Reverend Harris, when is the best time to plant it?
After the first danger, after the last danger frost, in April or May.
Okay, I was about to ask, and I'm not a farmer.
Listen to the news on every night, 10 o'clock news. It's gonna tell you whether it's not gonna be frosting or not. You got to keep up that kind of stuff. A farmer gonna be in tune with the weather.
Okay.
But it can't stand frost. So plant after the last great danger of frost.
Okay, so if I buy some, how do I keep that seed? Would you just let it some dry and keep it for the next year?
If you buy some, it's gonna be dry like this.
Okay, so just save some you can plant every year. Okay.
Just save me some dry ones and plant them next year.
One more question. Oh, I'm sorry. How many do you plant? Like just a handful or?
About 3 in every hill. A hill is one little spot, like you got one here, put about 3 in a hill. One for the worm, one for the bug, one for crows, and one to grow.
Okay. All right, when you saving them for the next following year, do you put them in the refrigerator or do you just leave them out in a plastic bag or sack for the next year?
These just out in a plastic bag in a churn.
Okay.
Now you can't put them in the deep freeze.
Huh? Say that again?
You can put them in the deep freeze. Some folk do, but I don't.
Oh, okay.
Other questions? Other questions? If not, thank you so much
Thank you.
for your time.